All right, here we are, Class 15. And this one's special because it's a capstone. For the last two classes, we've been building pieces of a machine. Class 13, we built the documentation foundation, daily reports, photos, the record. Class 14, we learned the 4 change documents, RFI, ESI, PCO, OCO. Today, we put the whole machine together and we run it start to finish. Look at the title, RFP, Change Orders, the Change Cycle, Contract Administration, and Claims. And the subtitle, the Complete Change Management Process plus Construction Claims Basics. That's the arc. We're going to follow a change all the way from the moment it's born to the moment it's either resolved cleanly as a change order, or it goes bad and becomes a claim. And the difference between those two outcomes? That's the whole point of being good at this job. And see the bottom, the weekly test opens after class. So everything we cover today is fair game. And more than that, this is the material that shows up on your job every single week. Let's get into it. Here's today's roadmap, and I want you to read it as a story, where changes come from and how they end. At the highest level, every change goes through 5 phases. Identify the need, evaluate and price it, agree and commit, execute the change, and close and document. Birth to closure. Hold that shape. Now the 5 steps we'll actually cover. 1. The RFP. The owner solicits a price for a proposed change. The outcome you want. The contractor clearly understands the change, the impacts, and the pricing request. 2. Change orders. The formal, signed instrument that modifies the contract. The outcome. The contract is amended for scope, cost, and time. 3. The change cycle. The end-to-end workflow from trigger to executed change order. The outcome. A repeatable process that drives clear decisions and timely execution. 4. Contract administration. The discipline of managing the contract day to day. The outcome. Obligations are met, risks are managed, and the record supports the project. And 5. Construction claims. What happens when the parties cannot agree? The outcome. A structured path to protect your rights and resolve disputes. And here's the big picture, the one sentence that holds it all together. Strong processes, clear communication, solid documentation. That's how changes become value, not problems. Burn that in. Changes are not the enemy. Changes are inevitable in commercial construction. The question is never, will there be changes? There will. The question is whether you manage them so well that they become fair value for everyone, or whether you fumble them into disputes. That's the game. Let's learn to win it. This slide is the same 5 steps in their simplest form, and I want you to memorize this flow because it's the spine of the entire class, and frankly, of change management for the rest of your career. 1. RFP/pricing request. The owner requests a price for a proposed change before work proceeds. 2. Change order. The signed instrument amends the contract. 3. The change cycle. The workflow from trigger to executed CO. 4. Contract administration. Notices, logs, documentation, payment flow. 5. Claims. When the parties cannot agree on cost, time, or responsibility. And read the subtitle, because it sets the whole tone. Changes are inevitable. Managing them well protects the schedule, the budget, the documentation record, and, don't skip this one, the working relationships. That last one matters more than students think. The owner you fight with on this job is the owner who doesn't hire you for the next 3. How you handle changes determines whether you get invited back. And here's the goal, stated as plainly as it can be. Keep changes in the change order column, not the claim column. That's it. That's the whole philosophy. A change handled well stays a change order. Agreed, priced, signed, everybody moves on. A change handled badly slides into the claim column. Disputed, escalated, lawyers, strained relationships, money tied up for years. Your entire job in change management is to keep things on the left side of that line. Let's walk each step and see how. Step 1. The request for proposal. The process begins here. During construction, the owner requests pricing for a proposed change before any work proceeds. That word "before" is going to come up over and over today, so let's set it now. The RFP comes before the work. The owner is saying, I'm thinking about making this change. Tell me what it'll cost and how much time it'll add, and then I'll decide. Nobody's swinging a hammer yet. Common triggers. Where do RFPs come from? 5 main sources. Owner-directed scope changes. The owner wants work added, deleted, or modified. They change their mind. Their needs evolved. Design errors or omissions. Missing or conflicting information in the documents. The design wasn't complete or wasn't right. Differing or unforeseen conditions. Subsurface, utilities, access, environmental issues. You dug and found something nobody expected. Code or regulatory requirements. New laws, codes, or permitting requirements show up mid-project. And value engineering or substitutions. The owner or designer wants an alternative solution, usually to save money or time. Notice how this ties back. Differing site conditions? That's the change condition you documented in your daily report, Class 13. Design conflicts? That's the RFI you wrote, Class 14. It's all one connected system. What the contractor prices. When you get an RFP, what goes into your number? Direct costs, labor, materials, equipment, and suppliers. Subcontractor quotes, accurate bids for the added or changed work. Overhead and profit, applied per the contract terms. Schedule and time impact, added days, acceleration, or delay costs. And bonds, insurance, and conditions, impacts to risk, insurance, and project logistics. That's the same cost anatomy we built on the PCO slide last class. The RFP is the owner asking. Your price response is essentially a PCO. And the takeaway ties it up. A clear, complete RFP leads to a clear, defendable price. Define the change, provide the info, get accurate pricing. When the RFP is vague, give me a price to fix the lobby. You can't price it accurately, and a sloppy price either loses you money or gets rejected. The clearer the request, the better the number. Push for clarity. This slide is a quick consolidation of the RFP, triggers on the left, what you price on the right. So I'll move fast since we just covered it. Common triggers, owner-directed scope changes, design clarification or omission, differing site conditions, coordination conflicts, value engineering substitutions. Same list, locked in. What the contractor prices, direct labor, material, equipment, subcontractor quotes, overhead and profit if allowed by contract, schedule and time impact, bonds, insurance, and general conditions if applicable. See if allowed by contract, and if applicable. Always check what your specific contract permits. Public jobs especially restrict what you can mark up. But here's the line I actually brought you to this slide for. Read it with me. A pricing request is not automatic authorization to proceed. This is the golden rule from last class wearing a slightly different shirt. The owner sending you an RFP, asking you for a price, does not mean go do the work. It means tell me what it costs. If you get an RFP and you run off and start building before there's a signed change order, you are working at risk. You might price it, the owner might say, too expensive, never mind, and now you've done work nobody's paying for. A pricing request is a question, not a green light. Wait for the signature. Step 2. The change order. The formal written instrument that amends the contract. This is the real thing. The signed document that actually modifies your agreement. A change order adjusts 3 things, and only 3 things, so know them cold. It adjusts price, increases or decreases the agreed contract value. And note, change orders can go down, not just up. Deleted scope is a deductive change order. The contract value drops. It adjusts time, adds or deducts contract days. And this is the one young engineers forget. Every change has a time dimension, not just a money dimension. If added work pushes your completion date, you'd better capture those days in the change order, because if you don't, you're still on the hook for the original deadline, and now you're exposed to late penalties for work the owner added. It adjusts scope, documents the work added, deleted, or modified. The change order is the official record of what changed. Common pricing methods. How do you price the work in a change order? 3 ways. Lump sum, a single fixed price for the whole change. clean, and simple when you can define the work clearly. Unit price, a price per unit of work. Good when you know the rate, but not the exact quantity yet, like dollars per cubic yard of rock excavation. And time and materials, also called force account. You bill the actual labor and materials as they're spent, usually with markup, used when the work can't be defined in advance, like an emergency or an unknown condition. Force account is what you fall back on when nobody can predict the cost up front. You just track every hour and every dollar and bill it. Keep meticulous records on T&M work, because every hour you can't document is an hour you don't get paid for. And the rule under it all: do not treat a change as fully resolved until the required written authorization is in place. Same drumbeat: in writing, signed, before you rely on it. A change order discussed but not signed is not a change order. It's a conversation. Step 3. The change cycle. From issue identification to executed change and payment. This is the operational engine, the actual step-by-step workflow you'll run on the job. 7 steps. Let's walk them in order. 1. Trigger identified. Something happens, a changed condition, an owner request, a design conflict. The change is born. 2. Notice and document the issue. This step is critical and often skipped. You formally put it on the record, and, where the contract requires, you give written notice. We'll talk about why notice is sacred in a few slides. 3. Price proposal developed. You build the PCO, cost breakdown, backup, schedule impact, the whole package. 4. Review scope, cost, and time. The owner and design team examine your proposal. 5. Negotiate and reconcile. There's usually back and forth here, and that's healthy. They may question your quantities, your rates, your days. This is normal business, not a fight. You defend your number with your documentation. 6. Execute the change order. Everybody signs. It's now a contract amendment. And 7. Perform the work and bill or track it. Now, and only now, you do the work, and you bill it and track it against the change order. And the best practice that governs the whole cycle. Document each handoff, track dates, and preserve contract notice requirements. See how documentation and notice run through every single step? This isn't a separate task. It's woven into the whole cycle. The cycle and the documentation are the same discipline. And notice, step 7, perform the work, comes last after execution. The entire cycle is built around the principle we keep hitting. You don't build it until it's signed. The disciplined contractor runs all 6 steps before swinging the hammer on step 7. Step 4. Contract administration. Managing the contract day to day after award. If the change cycle is what you do when a change pops up, contract administration is the ongoing discipline of running the whole agreement, every day, from award to closeout. This is the actual day-to-day job of a project engineer and project manager. 6 domains: submittals and RFIs, route questions, and technical information on time. Keep the information flowing so the field never stalls waiting on an answer. Schedule management, track progress, update dates, and flag delays early. That word, early again. The PM who spots a delay 3 weeks out has options. The one who notices it the day it hits has excuses. Payment applications support monthly billing with accurate backup. This is cash flow, getting paid on time for work performed. Documentation and logs. Maintain daily reports, correspondence, and change records. The record we've been building all unit. Change management. Manage the RFIs, ASIs, RFPs, COs, and correspondence. The whole change machine we just walked. Risk management. Monitor potential issues and escalate when needed. Spot trouble before it becomes a claim. And here's the line that captures the stakes. Good administration prevents disputes. Great administration wins them. Think about that. If your contract administration is good, most of your issues never become disputes at all. You resolve them as change orders, clean. But when a dispute does happen anyway, and sometimes it will, the firm with great administration, the relentless documentation, the airtight record, wins it. Either way, administration is your protection. It's not paperwork for paperwork's sake. It's how you protect the company. This slide is the heart of the whole unit. And you've heard the theme before, but it bears repeating because it's that important. Documentation is the contractor's defense. Disputes are often decided by the quality and timing of the record. Quality and timing. Not just whether you have a record, but whether it was made at the right time, contemporaneously, the day the thing happened. We hammered that in Class 13, document the same day. Here's where you see why it pays off. Records of. What do you keep? Daily reports. Photos and video with dates and locations. RFI, submittal, and change logs. Meeting minutes and correspondence. Schedule updates and notice letters. And field directives and instructions. That's everything we've built across this entire unit, gathered in one place. Why it matters. And here's what that record actually does for you when things get serious. It supports entitlement to time or cost. It proves you have a right to recover. It establishes cause and effect. It connects the event to the impact. It preserves contractual notice positions. It proves you gave notice when the contract required it. It improves credibility. A contractor with a clean, complete record is simply more believable than one telling stories from memory. And it helps quantify damages. It lets you put a defensible number on what you're owed. And there they are one more time. The 3 documentation commandments from Class 13. Record facts, not opinions. Document the same day. Use names, times, and locations. Same 3 rules, every class, all unit. That's not repetition for its own sake. It's because these 3 habits are what win or lose disputes. Make them automatic. Step 5. Construction claims. When routine change management does not fully resolve the issue. So this is the territory we've been trying to avoid all class. We do all the documentation, all the process, all the good faith negotiation, and sometimes, despite all of it, the parties just can't agree. That's when a change crosses over into a claim. What is a claim? A claim is a formal request for additional money, time, or other relief when the parties have not fully agreed. It's what you file when negotiation has stalled and you're formally asserting, you owe me, and here's why. It's more adversarial than a change order. The parties are no longer in agreement, they're in dispute. For common types of claims. Cost claims. Unpaid or underpaid extra costs. You did the work, you're not getting paid fairly for it. Delay claims. Time extension and delay-related impact. Something pushed your schedule and you want the days, and maybe the cost, recognized. Disruption claims. Lost productivity or inefficiency. This is when you weren't necessarily stopped, but you were made less efficient. Out-of-sequence work, crowded conditions, constant interruptions made your crews slower than they should have been. Disruption is real money, but it's hard to prove. And differing site conditions. Unexpected physical conditions encountered. You hit something underground nobody expected. And here's the principle that governs every single claim. The thing you must prove. A valid claim generally must establish entitlement, causation, and damages. 3 things. Entitlement, causation, damages. Remember those 3 words. They're on your test, and the next slide is built entirely around them. Let's break them down. The 3 pillars of a valid claim. I love this slide because the visual is the lesson. 3 pillars holding up a structure. And just like a real structure, if any one pillar fails, the whole thing comes down. A claim needs all 3 to stand. Let's walk them. Pillar 1, entitlement. Is there a contractual or legal basis to recover? Entitlement is your right to claim. It answers, does the contract or the law actually give you a basis to be owed something here? You can't just feel wronged. You need a clause, a condition, or a duty that supports your request. The note tells you how. Cite the clause, condition, or duty supporting the request. Point to where in the contract your right comes from. Pillar 2, causation. Did the event actually cause the impact? This is the link, and it's the one that trips people up. It's not enough that a bad thing happened and you lost money. You have to prove the bad thing caused the loss. Say you're claiming a delay. You have to show that this specific event, the late owner decision, the differing condition, is what actually pushed your schedule, not your own crew problems or whether you'd have hit anyway. The note. Connect the issue to the delay, disruption, or extra cost with documented facts. And there's your documentation again. Causation is proven with the record. This is why we document. Pillar 3, damages. How much time or money is owed? This is the number. Even with a clear right and clear causation, you have to quantify what you're owed and quantify it credibly. The note. Quantify using records, cost backup, measured productivity, and schedule evidence. A number with no backup gets thrown out. The number has to be built from documentation. And here's the whole point. Missing any one pillar weakens the claim. You can have a rock-solid right to recover and a perfectly documented cause, but if you can't quantify the damages, your claim is weak. Or you can have clear damages and entitlement, but if you can't prove causation, it collapses. All three, or it doesn't stand. Entitlement, causation, damages. Say it in your sleep. Notice, and the dispute resolution ladder. Two concepts on this slide, and the first one can make or break a claim before it even starts. Notice first, many contracts require written notice within a stated number of days. Review the contract and preserve the deadline. I cannot overstate this. Most construction contracts have a notice provision, a clause that says something like, if you intend to claim additional time or money, you must give written notice within, say, 7 or 14 or 21 days of the event. And here's the brutal part. If you miss that deadline, you can lose a completely valid claim. You could be 100% in the right. Entitlement, causation, damages, all three pillars rock solid, and still get nothing because you didn't give written notice in time. The right was real. You waived it by being late. This is why, in step 2 of the change cycle, notice and document comes so early. The clock starts the day the event happens. Know your contract's notice deadline cold, and never, ever blow it. Notice first. Now, when a dispute does happen, there's an escalation ladder, and the principle is, start at the bottom and climb only as high as you must. Rung 1, negotiation. Project-level discussion to resolve the issue. The cheapest, fastest, friendliest level. 2 reasonable people working it out. Always start here. Rung 2, mediation. A neutral facilitator helps the parties reach agreement. The mediator doesn't decide. They help you find your own agreement. Still relatively cheap and non-binding. Rung 3, arbitration. A private binding decision, if the contract requires it. Now a neutral arbitrator actually decides, and you're bound by it. More formal, more expensive, but usually faster and more private than court. Rung 4, litigation. The formal court process, typically the slowest and most costly. This is the top of the ladder, the last resort. Lawyers, courts, years, real money. And the key point, the exact dispute path depends on the contract. Not every project uses every step. Your contract tells you which rungs apply and in what order. But the wisdom is universal. Climb as low as you can. Every rung up costs more money, more time, and more relationship. The best contractors resolve almost everything on rung 1. This slide is the cleanest summary of everything we've talked about today. Change order versus claim, side by side. Because this whole class has really been about one fork in the road. Does your issue go left into the change order column or right into the claim column? Let's see the difference across 6 dimensions. Agreement. A change order means both parties agree. A claim means the parties disagree or are reserving rights. That's the fundamental split. Timing. A change order is resolved before or during performance. A claim is unresolved or escalated after a dispute. Change orders are proactive, claims are reactive. Documentation. A change order needs a proposal, backup, and signatures. A claim needs notice, records, and a full proof package. See how the documentation burden goes up with a claim? You need more record to win a claim than to sign a change order. Another reason to keep it in the change order column. Cost and time. In a change order, they're negotiated and settled. In a claim, they're asserted and disputed. Resolution. A change order ends with a signed change order, clean. A claim ends with negotiation, mediation, arbitration, or litigation. That ladder we just climbed. Relationship. And this is the one I really want you to feel. A change order generally preserves the relationship. A claim often strains it. Disputes are expensive in ways that don't show up on a spreadsheet. They poison working relationships. They make every future interaction harder, and they can cost you the next job with that owner. The relationship cost is real. And here's the best outcome, the line that sums up this entire class. A clearly documented change, resolved before it becomes a claim. That's the whole job. Document it clearly, resolve it early, keep it in the change order column. Do that, and you'll have a long, profitable, and frankly much less stressful career. Best practices across the entire change lifecycle. So if I boiled down everything we've covered into the habits of a contractor who does this well, the CM perspective, protecting cost, time, and relationships through disciplined documentation. Here are the 6 habits. These are the things that separate the pro from the amateur. 1. Spot changes early. Flag scope, design, or site issues immediately. The earlier you catch it, the more options you have and the cheaper it is to handle. 2. Give written notice. Preserve every contractual notice position. Remember the notice deadline that can kill a valid claim. This habit is your protection against that. 3. Document continuously. Daily reports, photos, correspondence. Not when there's a problem, always. The record you build on a quiet Tuesday is the record that saves you 6 months later. 4. Price changes fully. Direct cost, overhead and profit, time impact, and the ripple effects. That word ripple matters. A change rarely affects just its own little scope. It can disrupt the sequence, push other trades, affect the critical path. Price the whole impact, not just the obvious piece. 5. Negotiate in good faith. Resolve at the lowest practical level. That's rung 1 of the ladder. Be reasonable, be fair, work it out at the project level. Good faith keeps you in the change order column. 6. Know the contract. Read the changes, claims, and dispute clauses before work starts. Not when you have a problem before. You should know your notice deadlines, your markup caps, and your dispute path on day 1, not discover them in a crisis. And it all comes down to 4 verbs. Prepare, communicate, document, execute. That's the rhythm of professional change management. Prepare before it happens, communicate clearly when it does, document everything throughout, and execute the resolution cleanly. For words, whole career. Key terms to know. This is a vocabulary slide, and I'm putting it up deliberately because this language is on your test, and because, read the subtitle. Using the language correctly protects your position. On a job site, calling something by the wrong name can actually weaken your standing. So let's get these precise. RFP/PCO, the owner's request for a price on a proposed change. The pricing request. Change order, the signed amendment to contract cost, time, or scope. The executed instrument. Note the difference from the RFP. The RFP asks, the change order executes. Force account. Work billed on a time and materials basis. Your fallback when the cost can't be defined up front. RFI, request for information sent to the design team. Your formal question. Differing site condition, a physical condition unlike what was shown or expected. The surprise underground. Notice, the required written alert that a claim event has occurred. And we know how sacred this one is. Miss the notice deadline, lose the claim. Liquidated damages, a preset amount owed for late completion, if applicable. This is important and a little scary. Many contracts specify, in advance, a dollar amount you owe the owner for every day you finish late. Could be hundreds or thousands of dollars a day. That's why capturing time in your change orders matters so much. Unrecognized delay can run straight into liquidated damages. Critical path, the sequence of activities that drives the finish date. The critical path is the chain of tasks where any delay delays the whole project. It's why time impact on a change is about whether it hits the critical path. A delay to non-critical work might not matter, but a delay to the critical path moves your completion date and triggers those liquidated damages. Know the language, protect your position. When you speak this language fluently and correctly, you're credible to owners, architects, and if it ever comes to it, to an arbitrator. Sloppy language signals a sloppy contractor. Get the words right. Let's bring it home. The whole class in 5 sentences. Master these 5 ideas and you'll manage changes with confidence and protect the project and your company. 1. An RFP is the owner's request for a price on a proposed change. And work should wait until that RFP is reviewed and responded to in writing. A pricing request is not authorization. 2. A change order is the signed instrument that formally amends cost, time, and scope. And until it's fully executed, there is no binding change to the contract. Signed, or it's not real. 3. The change cycle runs: trigger, price, review, negotiate, execute, perform, and pay. A repeatable process protects entitlement and ensures payment. 4. Contract administration manages obligations daily, and documentation is the contractor's best defense. Good records today are your leverage tomorrow. That's the line of the whole unit. Good records today, leverage tomorrow. 5. When parties can't agree, a claim must prove entitlement, causation, and damages, and you give notice first. Follow the dispute resolution ladder and escalate only as needed. And why does all of this matter? For protections. Protect your rights. Follow the process. Meet the deadlines. Protect the project. Resolve changes early. Keep work moving. Protect relationships. Communicate clearly. Negotiate in good faith. And protect the bottom line. Accurate pricing, good docs, timely payment. And the one sentence to carry out of here: plan the work. Document the change. Protect the contract. That's project administration. That's the job. And the weekly test opens after class. When you study, focus on 2 things from today: the change cycle, RFI through executed CO, that sequence, and the 3 pillars of a claim: entitlement, causation, damages. Those are the backbone of this material. Know the cycle, know the 3 pillars, and you'll be in great shape. Good work this week. Everybody, go get it on the test.